everybody, my name is Jim Crawford and welcome back. Today I'll be showing you and telling you the process and how I, with a stroke of genius, not due to me, slid gracefully into a new direction that I didn't even know existed. I moved to New York when I was 32 and so it was Hoboken for 2 years. I had a friend, Susan Trankel. She had an apartment in the groovy Greenwich Village area, otherwise known as the Village. And she lived with her incredibly nice and handsome cousin, Lance Palumbo, who was a tried and true model, I believe exclusively with Calvin Klein. I was right. Sue knew I was down to my last $300 and was desperate for work. She kindly put the word out and set up an appointment for me to cut her cousin's hair, which in turn, he told his model friends and they told their model friends and blah, 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 blah. You know how that goes. So while I was cutting Lance's hair, the phone rang, and after a few minutes of talking, Lance said, "I've got the perfect man for you. I'll send him right over." I didn't know what I was walking into. I just went to the meeting. I got to the door, rang the bell. A guy named Jim opened it, soon to be my agent for 32 years. This is one time that being clueless worked in my favor. My senses were overwhelmed the moment I walked in. I was led into a small office and I felt like I was like in a Fellini movie. It was amazing. Phones were ringing off the hook. Clients were put on hold. Agents that worked there were loud, laughing while taking bookings for other artists they repped, asking clients what city, state, or country the artist they wanted to be would be working in. Would there be a celebrity on the job? Was it a catalog job, a commercial job, a runway show? Interviews, the list went on and on. They were talking back and forth about availability, time slots, and dates they needed, and last but not least, what the artist's day rate was. In other words, how much money they'll work for. I wasn't used to such high energy and pure adrenaline. It was so wonderful. The office was full of life. I was so inspired at that moment that I realized I might have to lie to get the job if I had to. Oh, inspiration rears its evil head, and I wanted to be part of it. In between all of the office chaos, the interview progressed. I was told about the job that was being offered for a hair and makeup person on a job he had available for an MTV video. They called for what is called character theatrical makeup and hair, which included wigs, beards, mustaches, making someone look younger, older, scars, bruises, fake ears, fake noses, a full range of half of everything I didn't know how to do yet. They asked a few questions about my work history. Of course, wasn't enough to get the job, so the only professional thing to do at the time was to lie through my teeth. There wasn't a moment where I thought that I couldn't do the job, even though I had never done any of what they were asking for. And to my surprise, I got the job and $1,000 for one day's work, enough to live on for 3 more months in Hoboken. I'm incredibly, incredibly thankful to have been hired. This was my first introduction into the actual turning point, which moved me into the direction I needed to go. Now, this is the opportunity to prove, not only to myself, but to the agent who hired me, that I can do this job. And just so you know, the meeting took place on a Thursday. The job started on Sunday. I left the office and then realized the emergency level, which was off the chart of what I needed to learn, purchase, and be prepared for all in 3 days. But, I'm an Aries. I can do it, be productive. So I ran to the nearest corner to use a public phone. For those of you who don't know what that is, here's a picture of what the phones looked like back then. And you would put a dime into the box that the phone receiver was hooked to get a connection. You had to wait in line to use the phone. They were always disgusting and looked like, I don't know, a murder scene. And in order to talk to someone, you had to know their full name and individual phone number to make a call. And if you couldn't remember it, there was this modern technology back then that helped, and it was called a phone book. You could find anyone's name, address, and or business in a matter of minutes. And I mean, modern technology at its finest. I started writing down addresses of department stores to go see their cosmetic department because I didn't know where else to start. Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Saks, Barney's, I had no clue. When you don't know where you are or something is, you just ask people on the streets. Which of these stores was closest to me. And bingo, it was Macy's. I found incredibly kind makeup people at the store. These artists worked by putting makeup on hundreds of customers. So who better to ask? I was upfront with them and told them basically what I needed to know. And the girls were amazing, so incredibly helpful. I told them I didn't have the money. So I got a ton of free samples. This way I didn't need to buy anything related to like normal makeup. And I took some brochures to get the basics of what I needed to know. And the salespeople directed me to the theatrical stores for the rest of what I needed. Now it was time for my next direction, which was to learn how to do all the things I needed to know. And at that time, where the hell did you go? Because there were no computers. Where else? The New York City Library. This is where the theatrical people told me to go to get the best reading material. I spent the rest of Thursday through Saturday frantically researching, breaking down the process of the applications, categorizing, and memorizing the techniques. Evenings were spent applying what I needed to know on anyone I could get, and in exchange, they would get a free haircut. So I managed to learn the basics of applying everything I needed to know. And I guess panic makes you work so much harder and longer. So that's all for now, folks. Stay tuned for my next video of me leaving for the job at 4 a.m.